Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Refugee to Industrial Regent, Season 2. Well, my ministers have been clamoring for new offices. The 4 existing ministers were okay with their digs in the City Hall, but there will be 5 new ministers, and frankly, City Hall's kind of cramped. So my ministers are getting new offices. Now, not all of them are getting dedicated offices, but this first time-lapse is for dedicated offices. This is dedicated to the Ministry of Defense. And you already saw me building up the staircase. That room to the left that I just put the roof on is the filing room for the operational plans of the industry and military. The little room on the right is going to be a conference room, effectively. And finally, that area in the front, which will remain open at least through the remainder of this stage, will be for an operations control center. And yes, this did use up a fair bit of stone. And here we have the base for the first floor, a subfloor, if you will. Now I begin by laying out the entryway. 2 offices for 2 officers, and then 2 more offices. And then in the back will be offices for the Minister of Defense and for the Commander-in-Chief of the Industrial and Military. We're setting up the floor around the staircase so that there is a way for my officers to get up and down between their offices, the operations area, and the second floor, which I will be building not too long from now. But at this point, laying out the rest of the floor plan for the offices, setting up the desks, and now we begin with the walls. And every office on this floor is going to have a window. This is mostly to give the exterior some visual interest, at least from the sides. The front needs some work, frankly, and I haven't gotten around to fixing it up yet. Right, and now it's time to put the ceiling on the first floor, the walls and the ceiling on the first floor. Of course, it takes a lot of stone. There's the staircase up to the second floor, which I realized was 1 block off, but that's not that hard to fix, even at this stage of the game. Now, finishing up the ceiling / subfloor on the second floor. And now we begin laying out the second floor. And the second floor is basically going to be the officers' quarters. And there is currently enough room, as you can see from the layout, for 10 officers. This is also the point at which I set up some scaffolding so that I can get up to the roof in a little bit. Right, now lay out the floors of the 10 rooms of the dormitory. Before you ask, yes, they do rely on the restaurants for their food. There is no dedicated mess area. Right, but now we've got beds and chests in 4 of the rooms for the 4 officers that are currently in the industrial and military. Now, as I get the rest of the walls sorted out, it's time to place the ceiling. And before too much longer, I'll be starting on the roof. There we go. Cobblestone steps on the edges. And what I've opted to do is to do this in a sort of bowl shape, effectively. So we go up from the edge in a little bit, peek a bit in from the edge, and then we descend to an inner bolt area that you can see in the middle there. I'm filling in with slabs. Before I go too much further with the construction of the ministries, there are a couple of materials that I would really like to have available for me, but they do require some production lines that are relatively complicated. So let me go ahead and get some things crafted up here. Now I have the barrels. I'm going to go ahead and craft 5 trash cans. You'll see why in a little bit. Alright, now I've gone ahead and taken care of putting some stuff in this brown backpack. I'm going to go row by row here. And I'm going to start with this top row. Machine frames, pistons on top, pneumatic servos on the bottom, glass, and tin ingots. That gives me igneous extruders. Give you one guess what I'm going to be using the igneous extruders to make. The next row is something I need 8 of. Go ahead and put the reception coil on the bottom, flint to the sides of the machine frame, and copper ingots to the sides of the reception coils. Gives me pulverizers from thermal expansion. And those serve to crush things. I'll be showing you what they're used for in a little bit. Next up, machine frames, redstone on top, reception coils on the bottom, bricks on the left and right, copper left and right. Gives me redstone furnaces. I think you've seen me craft them before earlier this season. And finally, 4 more, something I made just last episode. Chest on top, reception coil on the bottom, tin gears, and copper. Gives me 4 cyclic assemblers. In order to actually make the cyclic assemblers useful, I need 4 of the blueprints. So let's go ahead and get myself 4, not blueprints, blank schematics. And one more thing before I actually start the assembly, and that is to take some buckets. I need 3 buckets of lava and 3 buckets of water. So let me make my way over here. I still have these lava tanks hooked up like so. So I can go ahead and fill the lava that way. And then I can go ahead and fill the water off of this infinite water source I set up here last season. Now, I've got a bit of a long trek across Old Town Byzantium. Turn right in front of the Hippodrome, left before the schoolhouse, all the way down to the end, past the tech lab, and the storehouse, and the dock access way, which I'm going to need to rebuild at some point this stage. Left turn here, and you may have noticed that I expanded this. I added this room back here precisely for this purpose. Alright, I've got my plan sorted out. Yes, I did plan this out off camera, so hopefully there won't be too much complications with it. Let me get my wrench out. And I am going to begin with the thing here. Alright, I think I'm going to make this the sandstone wall. In order for the sandstone wall to work, I'm going to want that line to go like so, line like so, and then 2 power conduits running down below for the cyclic assemblers. Alright, now next up is to craft the igneous extruder. Place it there. Now, I'm going to go ahead and configure it carefully. I want output on the left and output on the right. I don't care about anything else. And I can go ahead and start it producing cobblestone. 1 bucket of lava and 1 bucket of water will produce infinite cobblestone. Alright, now next up is the pulverizers. Actually, let me go ahead and place the item ducts down first. Alright, so let me go ahead and lay down item ducts like so. Then the pulverizers, like so. Alright. Now, let me think here. Alright, so for the pulverizers, I want input on the top and output, red output on the bottom, and the yellow output. For this one, I want it on the right. For this one, I want it on the left. Alright, so far so good. Then I'm going to repeat over here. And finally, output on the bottom. There we go. Now I can go ahead and place down my first 2 trash cans and use the crescent hammer to make sure that I don't get cobblestone going into the trash cans. Alright, the igneous extruder is not outputting at this point, but that's okay. Let me go ahead and fix that real quick. That should hopefully start outputting. It does. As you can see, we're starting to get a couple of the pulverizers lighting up. Now, it will take a little bit for this system to reach full functionality, and that's fine by me. Alright, now the next machine here is the cyclic assembler. Now here I want inputs top and left, output on the right. And for this one, I want inputs top and right, output on the left. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and take that blank schematic. I'm going to go ahead and give it the schematic for sandstone. Et voila. Now I can follow suit over here. There we go. And give it schematic up. And finally, I can place the barrel down here. Place a pipe on top. Make sure to set both of those to output. Et voila. Go ahead and lock that to sandstone. And there's one more thing I need to do. Hold on a minute. Yeah, okay. First off, might as well go ahead and get this first stage connected here so that I can disconnect it from the trash bin again. Because I also don't want the sand going into the trash bin. Alright, and now we should be emptying out all of the sand out of here. Now, I hope one igneous extruder can keep up with all of this. If it can't, I'll have to figure something out. We will see once it gets up to full functionality. Alright, but now I have a way of crafting sandstone. I can use a chisel to modify it as needed. Alright. Let me go ahead and place a couple torches down back there, just so that mobs can't use that to spawn. And now let's pay attention over here to this side. And this is going to be a somewhat more complicated setup. Alright, let me think here. Alright, let's see, get this universal cable like so, up to there. And I want that there, that there like so, and I think symmetric on the other side will work for the power cable. Let me go ahead and get that lighting sorted out. Alright. Now I have to start here by placing 2 pulverizers there and there. And that's because I need them as references for my igneous extruders, which will go here and here. Alright. Now the other consideration is that I want my other 2 pulverizers here and here. And let me actually get this started. Alright, now this one here I want left and bottom outputs. And here I want right and bottom as outputs. Wait, so this is inputs. Oops. Okay, those are now outputs. There we go. Go ahead and blank the configurations on all of the pulverizers for the moment. There we go. Keeping in mind this one, I want input on the right. I want the red output on the bottom and the yellow output on the left. And that yellow output will go to a trash can there. Then over here, I want blue input on the left, red output on the bottom, yellow output on that side for a trash can there. This one, blue input on top, I believe red input on the bottom for this one, and yellow input on the right. And for this one, blue, red on the bottom, and yellow on the left. And put the trash can there. Yes, I am trashing a lot of gravel. I'm not too worried about that. Frankly, it's a side effect, and an undesirable side effect at that, of this entire system. So, now that I've got that sorted out, next up are 2 redstone furnaces here and here. And now for this one, it's pretty simple. Blue input on the top, orange output on the bottom. And likewise over here, blue on the top, orange on the bottom. Alright. Now it's time for the last 2 cyclic assemblers. And before I start them up, I'm going to go ahead and set up these cables here. Set them to output mode. And now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start that igneous extruder up. And start that igneous extruder up. Alright, so now we've got a pulverizer that is producing both sand and gravel. This redstone furnace is smelting the sand, and we now have sand and glass here. Alright, now unfortunately this is not quite configured right. I actually want the orange input on the bottom, nothing on the back for any of these machines. Alright, I want orange on the bottom again for that one. Down on the left. Okay. We're doing pretty good, I think, here. Yeah. We're approximately equal here. So, what I can do now, get sand and the glass, and that's going to allow me to make this sandy glass. And I'm going to follow suit over here. Glass and sand make sandy glass. Finally, what I can do is take this redstone furnace, go ahead and set it up to input from the top, output on the right. This one should output on the left and input on the top. And now that's giving me the thickened glass, which I can go ahead and put in the barrel. Et voila! Now I have thickened glass, which is superior, I'm pretty sure, to the regular glass, in that when I break it, I get it back. It's also a little bit clearer, and let me check something. Does it have connected textures on it? It does. Okay. So I think this is going to be my main source of glass going forward. And of course, I've also got the sandstone. And I get the sinking feeling that this igneous extruder is not, in fact, keeping up. So, yeah, I'll have to come up with something. Alright, that said, I'll probably get the igneous extruder situation with this one sorted out off camera. I shall return with another time-lapse and another ministry build. And now it is time to start building the second of the 3 ministry buildings for Basilean Industria. And this building will be the headquarters for the Ministry of Magic. You may notice that the storehouse is to the left, while the magic quarter of Byzantium is to the right. That's no accident. I want the Minister of Magic near where the magic actually happens. So there I am, laying down the entryway and main corridor, as well as the Minister's office. The area I just laid the floor down in is for a secretary, and finally, a meeting room. Because the Ministry of Magic doesn't have a significant staff at this point in time, it doesn't make sense to build it up too much. It's not like the Ministry of Defense, which has to serve double duty as military headquarters. And yes, I do apologize for the length of time I spent off camera gathering materials for the next phase of construction of the Ministry of Magic. But now it's time to build up the walls. And then gather some more materials, because I need other stuff to keep building up the walls. Specifically, purple stained clay. Along with the thickened glass that I started preparing in the last segment. And for the second layer, I've opted for sandstone, smooth and flat sandstone, courtesy of Chisel, as well as completing up the windows. More than a few windows, quite a few more than other buildings currently in Byzantium. Frankly, I think that's a good thing. And now it is time to top off the walls and prepare to assemble the roof. And the ceiling, of course. And the preparations begin with the laying of scaffolding, so that I can get up onto the roof. And I do admit it can at times be a little bit tricky to get up the scaffolding and onto the top of the ministry. Let's get the walls topped off here before we actually lay the foundation of the roof, which is going to be more stone stairs and some stone slabs to form the ceiling of the actual rooms. Nothing too complicated at this point. I will try to get fancy with this roof. I do have to rethink it a couple points. But we begin by laying the edging all the way around. Now, admittedly, the diagonal edges were a little bit harder to set up than the straight edges. And now that I've got the edges of the roof sorted out, I go ahead and place a row of slabs around the edge. This will make the slope of the roof a little bit shallower than in other sections of Byzantium. Also allows me to cut off that right side to take that step up a bit deeper. Alright, and now I'm going ahead and placing cobblestone underneath. This is a space that's not going to be used, so I might as well fill it. Laying down a few torches and some slabs before realizing that I don't need it immediately back from the edge. In fact, I didn't want it there. And now here's where I tried to get fancy with the roof. Laying down a little bit more slabs. Now, what I'm trying to do here is build up a little bit of a spire. It's an interesting thought, But when I step back to have a look at it, it doesn't work. So I wind up taking it down and doing something a little bit more, well, after taking it down further, doing something a little bit more conventional with it. And thus it completes the Ministry of Magic. And now, having lost all inspiration on ministry buildings, I opted, at least for the time being, to put the remaining ministries, obviously this excludes defense, magic, technology cum science, and mining, all of which have their own dedicated offices elsewhere. But the remaining ministries will all be housed here. And because this building is going to be home to 5 ministries, it also needs a bit of staff. I've gone ahead and laid out 6 offices because I miscounted the number of ministers that would be here initially, but oh wow. I've also got 12 desks in the front for clerical staff, and those desks are now complete. I will not be laying down the desks in the minister's offices during the time lapse. I will wait until a later segment for that. But here I get the walls up, at least the first stage of the walls, the lower section, which is, in fairness, the easy part. Because, like with the Ministry of Magic, I decided to try to go a little bit fancy with the roof. Unlike with the Ministry of Magic, however, my fancy idea for the roof actually works. Now, I'm putting a little bit of definition on the ceilings of the minister's offices, and that's mostly so that these offices aren't completely homogeneous boxes. Now, I also go ahead and lay out some lighting based around the clerk's desks. And now I begin the process of laying out the roof. Now, unlike with the Ministries of Magic and Defense, rather than having the overhang at the same level all the way around, I opt for a simpler 2-slope roof. Well, at least at first, it's a simpler 2-slope roof. Of course, there is a problem with a pure 2-slope roof on a building like this, and that is given its width, the roof will go really high, and I didn't really want that, which can actually explain why I will ultimately do what I do here. Alright, we get up the next layer of the stairs on the roof. Now, of course, for the inside part, over the clerk's desks. And with both sides complete. Now, this is where I get fancy. Rather than trying to do a single peak, I actually opt for a 2-peak roof. And you can see where the peaks are going to be, because I'm in the process of building them at the moment. Alright, so I'll need to fill in the area above the minister's offices. Don't want to have to worry about lighting or mob spawning in there. I also went ahead and used the sandstone to create a sort of arched ceiling on the inside. And of course, while it initially looks like 2 roofs, it ends up 2 peaks. It ends up being 3 peaks. And I think it actually works reasonably well. Of course, I did screw up here on the bottom there. Yep, there I am fixing it. Because those valleys should touch rather than be separated like they previously were. Now here I am laying down the valleys, and here's the rest of the roof. And yes, I did have to go back for more cobblestone steps a few times. But once I get the rest of this roof done, as well as those front windows, the ministry's building will be complete. It is time to move all of the ministers out of the town hall and into their respective offices. First off, let me label this building Industrial Ministry of Magic. Simple enough. We've got the magic quarter over there, so it's not too far out of line. And then, of course, the minister's office itself. And the minister is someone you met last stage, well, more or less. Heraclius Callistus. Now let's go ahead and get out the materials for his office. Alright, why don't we begin with a chair and a seat back. Then we can go ahead and place down the actual desk. Similar style to what I did last stage. Now, let me think here. Now, in this case, since Callistus has his own study room, the filing cabinets and the bookcases will go in here. Every other minister will share their office with their bookcases and filing cabinets. Alright. And then the other thing I need to do is turn this into a... Actually, I misplaced all of these, didn't I? Yeah. It's going to be a bear to break. Yeah, I did misplace all of these. And I didn't bring the right tool to break them either. So it's going to be a moment to get this fixed up. There we go. Now let's go ahead and put the chairs in here. And this is effectively the conference room for the Ministry of Magic. With, okay, a nice view of the wall. Hey, at least it's a nice and airy room. Even if the wall is horrendously misplaced. Now, the secretary. Alright. Et voila, the Ministry of Magic is finished. Now, before I go on to take care of the rest of the ministers, and keep in mind, I'm actually over one ministry because I've got the mining minister who already has his office in the mining headquarters. And he will move permanently into that office. And I don't know why I'm in the shelves, because I need a work table. And what I'm going to craft, first off, is this. This is the hammer from the statues mod. And then, and this is a shaped recipe, so I need to make sure I get this right. Green, red, yes, okay. And that makes these pallets. I will show you what they're used for in a little bit. But first, let me show you the one change I've made to the tech lab. And let me actually put the sign up for this. Basilean, Industria, Ministry of Science. Now, the old Ministry of Technology is being split into the Ministry of Science, the Ministry of Industry, and the Ministry of Transportation, and to an extent, the Ministry of Finance. And over here, I've taken the liberty of setting up a secretary's desk, a simple little secretary's desk, the same style that you saw in the time-lapse with the main ministry building. And then over here is the office itself. So let me go ahead and sort this out. Here we go, 4 of those, and 2 of those. Alright, let's go ahead and get the desk, the chair, then the desk. There's the rest of the desk. Now, let's see the bookshelves. Let's see, where do I want the filing cabinets? I don't really have a lot of space to work with here on this one. So I'll go ahead and put... I can't put those there, can I? Yeah, they don't work there. Well, I suppose what I could do is put that like so, and then that like so. And that works. Alright. And since the Ministry of Science will take over the Minister of Technology, so this is the Minister of Science, Theophilus Nepos. Used to be the Minister of Technology. Now that that ministry is being split into 3 parts, he takes over the science portfolio. The other 2 will be assigned to new ministers, who will get houses later this stage. Alright. Make our way down here. And while we do officially have the Mining Guild, the chairman of the Mining Guild will also be the Minister of Mining. And, well, Eugenicus. Alright. I might want to expand this office. Yeah. Alright, unfortunately that means the Iron Helmet's gonna have to go out of here. Okay, it's taking a really long time to break these things. Alright. But at any rate, let's go ahead and get the filing cabinets and the bookcases in here. And I might as well go ahead and put the Iron Helmet in here, along with the rest of the chests that I broke. I can always redo this later on. In fact, I'll probably want to do that off camera. I probably should have checked that before I started this segment. Before we go on to the last 2 ministry buildings, I need to grab a little bit of stone, smooth stone specifically, out of here. There we go. And it occurs to me that there is one other thing I forgot to check, but oh well, I can probably make do with what I've got for the moment. So let me go ahead and reset the torches for this entryway to the Ministry of Defense. Actually, first let me mark this. I can't type right now. There we go. We have our Ministry of Defense. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these like so. And I'm going to go ahead and use the hammer. Yeah, let's go with this guy. Let's see. That works for me. Yeah. Randomize like so. Nah. Okay, hold on a minute. Let's see. Cancel that. Okay, how about I get that set up like so? Yeah, now let me double check to make sure that my arms are pointed the right way. Sculpt. 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 4, 5, and 6. And now with these pallets. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'll see if there isn't something I can do with these statues a little bit later on. Actually, I wonder, can I modify it with this? No, I can't. Once I place it, that's it. Well, I could at least put some armor on them. I might consider doing that in a little bit. Now, I do have some offices here. Only 2 named officers at the moment. The card shows here. Photios officeros. I'm trying to think what would be a good abbreviation. Hecatoncheras, I think, is the name I'm using. So H. Yeah, I'll go HCT for that. So, and here we have and the Byzantine Guard Basil Gabrus. And finally, this office over here is going to be for the Minister of Defense. New guy, Elias Felis. Incidentally, that office there is for the Commander-in-Chief of the Imperial Armies. The position is currently vacant. And these 2 offices will be for other Dakar Choi. In fact, Basil Gabrus really doesn't need this office. He's got his own office inside the city wall. So for the moment, only Opsaris of the 1st Infantry, Hecatoncheras, actually has an office. Alright, but that's the Ministry of Defense. I could use a little bit of decoration on the front, but that's something I'll probably go ahead and do off camera. Now we get to the main ministry, and once we get past all the secretaries' desks, we can then, well, first off, let me, I do have a file on my other monitor showing all the ministry changes that I'm going to be making. So, let me go ahead and mark out the changes I've completed so I don't lose track of my remaining ministries. And I'll give the first office here to my Minister of Agriculture, Leo Dukas. Across the hall will be the Minister of Industry, which will be Kostas Garidas. Alright, this third office here will be the Minister of State. And the Minister of State is basically responsible for the bureaucracy. And he will be Gregory Lampinos. Across the hall from him will be the Minister of Finance, Terasios Tornicus. And finally, the 9th and last Minister for Stage 5, Minister of Transportation, Pantarius Cephalus. Now, in order to complete the ministries, let me think. 5 desks, 10 bookshelves, 20 bookcases, and 10 filing cabinets. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this sorted out. The chair first, the desk, the bookcases, and the filing cabinets, which I'll put there. Alright. Chair. Desk. More desk. Bookcases. And filing cabinet. Wait a minute. This office didn't need any of that, did it? Oh well. There really isn't any harm to doing that, to filling that office, I don't think. It's extra materials that I had anyway, so yeah. It's really a non-issue. Alright. Bookcases. Filing cabinet over here. Alright. Chair. Desk. Bookcases. Filing cabinet. Chair. No. I went the wrong way on my mouse wheel. Desk. Bookcases. And filing cabinet. And finally, chair. Desk. Bookcases. Filing cabinet. A fini. Now let me go ahead and put a quick little sign on this. Basilean Industrial Ministry Headquarters. And that's what that's going to be, at least for this stage. Because I'm not really in the mood to build dedicated ministry buildings. I mean, yes, it's 4 buildings, but I honestly have no idea what to do with those 4 buildings at this point in time. I'm going to need some more time to think about it. I mean, if I do come up with something, I can, rebuild later this stage. But realistically, 5 ministries sharing 1 building is not going to be the worst thing in the world. Alright? But with that said, I think I've reached a good wrapping up point, so I will see you next time, everybody.